Hey there everybody, Mazarok here, and today we've got the Protection Warrior Mythic Plus guide going on. I'm going to do some rotation tips, going to talk stats, going to talk enchants, and I'm going to give you guys a couple of builds to work with because Protection Warrior is very fluid with how it plays, and there's two kind of distinct playstyles depending on kind of how you want to do damage or, that sort of fun stuff. Before we do get started though, please do like, comment, subscribe. You guys are destroying the new 6K goal. Thank you so much for all the love and support. There is a Patreon link down below if you wish to support me directly. If you want any week orders, LVUI setup, week orders. Oh, I've been making too many crafting orders. Week orders, UI setups, anything like that. Or if you want a living guide on Protection Warrior, that's all in nice written form. I don't know about nice, but that's subjective. But it's all there, it's all written, and it's all kind of my thought process is all in one spot. Link down below. There's a Teespring link down below as well if you want to have t-shirts like the Blood DK, I'm the Healer Now hoodie t-shirt. And long sleeve shirt. We got Protection Warrior. I only do dungeons fully erect. Get those down below. There's a Twitch link down below and a Discord link down below if you wish to just kind of join a fun, positive community, ask questions, all that fun stuff. I am still plagued with the 7 FPS bug or whatever when I'm near main city. I don't know what's going on, but if I stop for 10 seconds in Valdraken, I still get it. But when we're talking Protection Warrior, let's talk stats right off the bat. Haste, guys. You need haste. Leveling up the Protection Warrior has definitely been fun, but losing all of that haste definitely hurt. And haste is going to be one of your main key stats that you're going to be wanting on pretty much everything. After that, it's versatility, then crit mastery. If you've been playing Protection Warrior for a while, nothing's really changed. Keep that going, but you definitely want to prio on haste. Right now, I have 20% baseline, 19.5 to be fair. But I'm also, I'm not in, my Heroic and Mythic Plus and my Mythic Plus gear and all that, right? I'm only item level 364 right now. I had a little bit of luck with, in the Mythic Zero department, but not that much as I wanted. But there's still plenty to do. So that's your stats. For consumables, you're going to want to go with Haste on your rings. You're going to want to go with Leech, which is a new enchant on your cloak and on your bracers. And there's the weapon or the weapon enchant, which is the Sophic Devotion, as you can see on screen here now. That's what you want to go with for your weapons. Now that you got your enchants covered, you're going to need consumables. Howling Rune is a new inscription-based consumable for your weapon, and this gives you haste. And you need haste. So this is pretty much going to be used for Protection Warrior in all content. After that, Phials are now replacing flasks, by the way. Before we had the Spectral Flask of Power, lasted for an hour, yada yada yada. Now we're getting Phials, and they're a little bit different. So you have two options that you can choose. You can have a defensive and a offensive option for whatever you want to use. Phial of the Eye in the Storm is your more defensive option. Now it is a strength-based Phial, so it's obviously going to give you some offensive prowess, but the offensive one gives you a little bit more damage. What it does is you get primary stat for each enemy that has been recently struck by you, stacking up to 5 times, last 30 minutes through death, blah, 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 blah. But this is going to be great in AoE, so if you're near 5 mobs, you've struck 5 mobs, you gain a nice strength proc that's going to just straight up last for a little while until, you kind of don't hit things anymore. Then we have the Phial of Glacial Fury. This is a, whenever you first attack a target, you gain a stack of Glacial Fury for 15 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. It deals frost damage, split among the AoE enemies, and it is increased by 15% per stack when it does proc. Really, this is definitely going to be the offensive option of choice. When I was testing this in beta, it dealt a considerable amount of damage, so this is going to be your Phial options for Mythic Plus. So now that we've covered stats, consumables, enchants, we're going to go into tier sets. All right, the Prot Warrior tier set is pretty simple, but very, very good and very effective. The 2-piece Revenge grants you Vanguard's Determination for 5 seconds, giving you a 4% damage amp and a 4% reduced damage taken buff that is very easy to maintain in AoE scenarios, but actually gets a little bit more complex in execute windows. Because of how much rage we tend to burn in execute windows, Revenge obviously loses a little bit of priority, but now we're going to have to start weaving in that revenge for buff upkeep, because the 4-piece is really, really strong as well. So the 4-piece, during Vanguard's Determination, you gain Ignore Pain equal to 10% of the damage you deal. You stack that with Brutal Vitality, and this adds a lot of survivability that Prot Warrior just hasn't had in execute windows, because you tend to just be burning so much rage on executes that Ignore Pains and Shield Block can drop at times through bad rage management, and it's very possible to do this. But now with things like Last Stand and Bolster being combined as a thing, you're going to be able to weave that revenge in a little bit better and not have to worry about your defensives as much in those in those execute windows. But we have to talk about tier sets because they are making comeback, even though they are simpler than they were before in season 3 and 4. But that is the tier set for Prot Warrior. Talent builds. So right off the bat, we have this talent build here that I have been running for Mythic Zeros, with a couple of flex points, because like I said, Prot Warrior is very fluid with how you want to play it, right? You can change things around as you see fit. If you have any questions on why I chose certain things like this or that, then do check out the beginner's guide down below, because I'm not going to be going into every little detail in this one here like I did in that video down there. Berserker Rage is going to be very good for you while you're starting with Mythic Zeros, because there's a lot of fear effects in some dungeons that actually aren't going to be until Season 2 Mythic Plus pool. So that's why I'm running Berserker Rage now, because like dungeons like Brackenhide Hollow and things like that, and especially like I'm still trying to gear up and get a few specific pieces that I would like to be ready for when I do Mythic Plus on the 13th. This is the Shockwave build right here. This is all about Shockwave. That's why it's called the Shockwave build. Shockwave with Rumbling Earth, with Booming Voice and Thunderlord are going to pair up very, very nice, actually. You're going to be able to get Demoralizing Shout down to about a 25-second cooldown, and with that, you're going to be able to hit Demo Shout and hit Shockwave right after pretty much all of the time, and then after that, you're going to be able to pair Avatar, Demo Shout, and Shockwave so it'll be like Avatar, Demo, Shockwave, and then it'll be Demo, Shockwave, Avatar, Demo, Shockwave. That'll be the general consensus on kind of how it works, although sometimes it is kind of easy to desync this with Avatar, but you're pretty much always going to have Demo, Shout, and Shockwave as long as you are hitting 3 or more targets. For this to work, you have to hit 3 or more targets, and you have to aim Shockwave. This is something that if you're just hitting it and you're not watching where your frontal is, you can miss a lot of mobs, and if you're missing mobs, you're missing out on a lot of damage. But Shockwave deals a stupid amount of damage with this build, and is absolutely played around, but you're not playing Shockwave as a full stop. You're just not. You're not playing Shockwave as a full stop at all. This is a damage dealing ability with this build, and you are not using it for you. If it stops stuff, great, but you do not want to save that, because Shockwave with enough of an AoE scenario, Algathar Academy, if you're regularly double pulling or anything like that, this is definitely I'll move this here. This is Unstoppable Force. I just realized. I'm sorry. This is way too much damage in Algathar Academy, Brackenhide Hollow, those types of dungeons. If you've run them at all, Shockwave is my #1 damage dealing ability, and it's got 4 to 5% on Revenge and Thunderclap. It's not even close. But this means that you're playing very offensively and very aggressively. So this is definitely the more offensive build. And if you see over here on the right side, I do not have Battle Scarred Veteran. That's because there has not been a point or a dungeon where I feel threatened enough to take this. This is a great safety talent to choose, and you can, your point out of here would be Storm of Steel to take Battle Scarred Vet. But right now, when I picked Battle-Scarred Veteran for the first Mythic Zero I did, just to see how I would feel or anything like that, and it took me until the end of the first boss. I stopped stance dancing. I just went in a battle stance, and I never swapped out of it. And I took this point at a Battle-Scarred Vet, and I put it into Storm of Steel. So as long as you are not threatened by damage, and you're just not worried, because like I didn't die once. Battle-Scarred Vet is just not... If it procs 0 times for you in all of your dungeons, guess what? It's a wasted point. Put it in a Storm of Steel, get your second Ravager, and just start rotating those around. As well, this is a flex point here for how you want to run it. Battering Ram is my personal choice. I really like the playstyle of Battering Ram and increasing my auto attack speed by 20% for 20 seconds. During those 20-second windows, I definitely feel the increased Shield Slam procs. I really, really do. From Devastator. But you can also choose to go with Champion's Bulwark if you're afraid that your shield block uptime is not as high as it could be. Battering Ram is more punishing if you make shield block mistakes, but Bulwark is going to allow you to keep up your shield block just longer and have that 100% uptime, which is the entire goal with Prot Warrior. Keep shield block up, keep Ignore Pain up, hit Revenge for rest of Rage spam. That's kind of how it goes. Thunderclap now deals very good damage, where before in Shadowlands we did not prio Thunderclap at all. You want to prioritize Thunderclap now. It deals very good damage, and it's pretty much baseline with Show of Force here, and all of the Revenge upgrades, they're about equal. Sometimes even more with Thunderclap as well. Thunderclap applies Rend now, so you want to hit Thunderclap as much as possible. Obvious, plain and simple choice, right? This is kind of how I've built for fun and offensive prowess and defensibility. A couple of the talent points that I've taken here are Impenetrable Wall, so you can get your shield wall down to next to nothing. Brace for Impact is a fantastic new ability that increases your shield slam damage and your block value by 5%, stacking up to 5 times. This is a buff that you absolutely want to maintain. No questions asked. If you want to maintain it, that's how you want to work it. Ravager here. You can opt out of Ravager altogether if you don't want the extra button. Go with Champion's Bulwark and put the other point in anything that you want. You can go with Disrupting Shout if you so choose. Disrupting Shout being very, very good in dungeons like Ruby Life Pools, where there's casters spread out everywhere. If you have an Evoker in your party, because they deal insane burst damage at the start of pulls, all that fun stuff. But this is the fluid thing that you can choose with how you want to. But this is how I've been playing it and having an absolute blast, just pumping damage. In the Mythic World Tour that we were doing, I was about equal eye level with everyone else. I was a little bit low going in, and every pull it always seemed like I was second going in, unless like everyone burst everything, and then it was like a solid third. There was definitely a lot of damage to be had here. But if you're looking for a more progression-oriented like Prot Warrior build for Mythic Plus, you're pushing keys, right? You're in the more bleeding edge type of scenarios. Go with Battle-Scarred Veteran, obviously. Take your points out of the Shockwave bonuses here, and go with Thunderous Roar and Thunderous Words. Thunderous Roar is going to be a good damage cooldown for you, but it's going to add an extra bleed onto all of the targets, which is going to provide you with Blood Surge synergies here, allowing you to generate a lot more rage than the Shockwave build. And that's kind of the key here. You're going to want to use Thunderous Roar in scenarios where you know you're in trouble, it's a tough pack, and you need more rage. This ability is going to just allow you to spam more Ignore Pains and keep yourself up that much more, and just allow the bleed damage to do its thing. And then Thunderous Words increases the duration of Roar's bleed effects by 2 seconds, and increases the damage of your bleed effects by 15% at all times. This is Rend, this is Deep Wounds, which do considerable amount of damage for you. Right now in Dungeon, both Deep Wounds and Rend without any points in the Bloodborne are doing about 25% of my damage combined. So adding another 15% off that for a talent point, very, very good. This allows you to play a little bit more defensively, have a lot more rage at your disposal, versus the Shockwave build requires you to manage your rage a lot better and is a lot more punishing if you screw up. But this allows you to kind of work that around and in, and Shockwave is now being used as a full 40-second stop. You can save it, you can hold it. It's not going to deal any damage outside of Sonic Boom, so you can really work yourself that way. So here, take a screenshot if you need this here. I will be trying. I'm not great with the loadout thing yet. They seem to always screw up with me. I get bugs. I am going to try and put loadouts down in the description box below, but if I don't, it's because I'm not happy with the way they turned out. Because, again, the loadout system for me has been very, very bugged. I've just had bad luck with it, but that's it. So this is the build that I would suggest for pushing keys, going into content where you are severely undergeared, or you're in threat of dying, or you just need to play a little bit more defensively than what you've played before, or if you want less buttons, whatever have you not. But this is definitely where I would be going in this scenario here, and where I am going to be going in Mythic Plus starting on the 13th until we get our bearings. Now, a few rotational tips. Like I said earlier in the talent portion of this, shield block, 100% uptime. Always a prio for your rage to make sure that you have shield block up and going. Ignore pain. Try to always have an active ignore pain going, because that's something you will feed into with brutal vitality here. 30% of the damage you deal adds to your active ignore pain. If you don't have an active one and you're dealing damage buttons, you're wasting free healing. And that's not something you want to do, because Ignore Pain is going to be about 50% of your total healing in dungeons. I have hit 40-50k healing in a pull. You absolutely want Ignore Pain to be going and running itself through, right? And then after that, Revenge for your rage burning. Thunderclap, put that into the high prioritization, because it's going to spread your rends. Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Protection Warrior is a very proactive tank. You need to know when big hits are coming, and you need to hit defensives before those hits are coming. Spell Reflect is on a 20-second cooldown. We have Shield Wall, 3.5 minute baseline, but it will actually be closer to about 50 to 60 seconds if you're playing aggressively and burning enough rage and hitting Shield Slam enough to bring that down with Impenetrable Wall. You need to know what kind of damage is coming, and you need to hit your defensive before you get hit. If you go from 100 to 60 instant, you should have used a defensive there. That's like no question. And if you hit it afterwards, it's pretty much already wasted. The hit occurred. Prot Warrior is all about not taking damage, being proactive, having your shield block up, having your Ignore Pains going, having your defensives up before those hits come in. But we do have a little bit of self-sustain now with Impending Victory. This is not something that we could get before, because it was on the same row as Indomitable here. Indomitable is incredible for self-sustain, especially in high rage scenarios where you get to burn a lot of rage, which is why Indom and Thunderous Roar words have that synergy all together, right? More bleeds, more rage from Blood Surge, more rage burning, more healing from Indom. But when you need a big, quick hit, you're gonna want to go with Impending Victory. This is a forever pick for me. 30% of your max HP in one button on a 25-second cooldown, reset on a kill. Now you need to get the killing blow, but this is a Warlock Healthstone, a little bit better version of it. Every 25 seconds. Let's say if you don't get the kill, that alone is worth all of it. A couple of flex points here as well that you can choose is take your point out of Berserker Rage. There are some dungeons where Wrecking Throw is actually going to be very, very useful, by the way. There are some absorbs that are really, really nice. You can go with Barbaric Training, would also be another very good one. But if you're going with the full Shockwave build, playing aggressively with your rage, you can start finding yourself rage-starved very, very quickly. My general go-to would be Concussive Blows. In Braconite Hollow, I go with Bitter Immunity because holy diseases, Batman. But that's for another day. But yeah, so that's what you can do there. You can work those flex points around. You can also go with Intimidating Shout, which is another full stop that's very, very good. In progression scenarios as well, going with Pain and Gain is not a bad option at all. I just haven't felt a need for it at all, and I don't see a need for Pain and Gain outside of cutting edge, bleeding edge keys, right? Prot Warrior is insanely good at self-sustain, is very, very just a tankiness. You don't take damage, and when you do have quick ways to get yourself back up, where Pain and Gain is going to be kind of meh. But if you are in bleeding edge, cutting edge keys, or that's your plan to get to, Pain and Gain is going to be a fantastic option for you to take, by the way. So that is the that's the rotation little tips that I've got for you. Remember, Ignore Pain and Shield Block are not on the GCD, so you can hit an Ignore Pain and a Revenge at the same time if you have enough Rage, or Shield Block and a Revenge at the same time if you have enough Rage. So you can really kind of work those in and together and, optimize. Always charge into battle. Warriors, always charge into battle. You want the Rage. You can shield charge into battle to generate rage, or you can charge with your regular charge into battle. But that is going to be the Mythic Plus guide here. These are the builds that I'm going to be working and flexing around and with. And I am going to be doing a raid version of this as well with a couple of raid builds depending on execute or just self-sustain or whatever. So that is here. Thank you very much for listening. Have yourselves a good one, and I am so excited for Mythic Plus to be opening up on the 13th. Have yourselves a good one, guys, and thanks again to my patrons for allowing videos like this to happen. Bye. Happy tanking.